For Wharfedale's 85th anniversary, we produced a groundbreaking design, the Wharfedale Linton. Now, this was a groundbreaking design because it was was considered at the time a large, wide-baffled loudspeaker at a point where loudspeakers were getting smaller and thinner. And I felt that as a designer that this was the wrong way to go. I grew up with loudspeakers where typically a bass unit would be 12 or 15 inches in size. A mid-range unit was considered small at 8 or 6 inches. So the Wharfedale Linton was designed to produce the sort of sound that I experienced as a teenager and absolutely loved. Although it's a fairly large loudspeaker, people were very aware when they listened to it of its benefits, and it has gone on to be one of Wharfedale's biggest selling modern loudspeakers, just like the original was when that first came out. But there were some owners who wanted something more from their Lintons. We are always listening to our customers and looking at their comments on social media and watching what they say about our loudspeakers. And some of them were saying that they needed more detailing, a more accurate stereo image, a cleaner bass response, especially for putting speakers closer to the wall, which I saw was what a lot of them were doing. So as a result of that, some of them were taking their speakers apart and modifying them, which as a designer, that horrifies me because I know perfectly well that a loudspeaker design is complete in itself, and tinkering about with it usually unbalances things and makes a mess of things. So I thought, well, if we're going to do this, let's do this properly. And that led us to the concept of doing a Super Linton. Now, back in Wharfedale's history, there was in fact a Super Linton. Linton was followed up by the Super Linton, which was basically the same design but in a larger cabinet. Now, in this case, we felt we needed to go much further than that. So we looked at absolutely everything. We started off with approaching the bass problem, and we developed a bass unit which, although the same size as the original Linton, has a much more powerful motor system that gave us extra sensitivity for the speaker, as well as improving the transient attack, but also increased our control of the bass performance. So now the speaker can go closer to a rear wall without introducing some boominess or sloppiness in the bass, which some people were experiencing from the original Linton. But that improvement in the bass meant that we then had to obviously improve things in other areas of the loudspeaker, because as I said, if you change one thing, it unbalances the whole performance. So we then looked at obviously the treble performance. We went through a long period of refining treble units until we got to a point where they were the performance of the treble unit was more extended to high frequencies, gave a more detailed performance, and married that to a very special crossover, split onto two boards so that the mid-range and high frequencies are on one PCB, low frequencies are on a separate PCB. And that reduced the electromagnetic interference between the air coils that we were using for the mid-range and treble frequencies crossover, and the large bass inductor that was necessary for our improved bass unit. And on top of that, we auditioned some of the best capacitors and resistors that we could find for these crossovers. That also gave us a small amount of improvement in detailing, and particularly with the whole crossover design, we were able to focus the stereo image much more precisely. So Super Linton is not just a Linton, it's actually more like a different loudspeaker. It still retains the character of Linton in terms of its large soundscape, its ability to create a big area of music in your room so that the loudspeakers practically disappear, and also has that attractive mellifluousness, which keeps you wanting to play track after track right through until the late hours of the night. But on top of that, we feel that this loudspeaker has detailing and accuracy to monitor levels. And everybody that has wanted an improvement on their original Lintons has been delighted with the performance of the Super Linton.